Hello everyone and welcome to my channel RPG Retro Reviews. I'm Captain Courageous and I review old school and new school modules and games and talk about how you might use them in your current campaign. This week I'm going to take a brief look at one of the newer releases from Wizards of the Coast for the 5th edition of the game. Part bestiary and part legendarium, this 253-page tome mines the 40-year history of the D&D game, re-examining many of the game's tropes and gives new luster to many of them. Now, I'm also going to review one of the newer releases from Fantasy Flight Games, Star Wars the Role-Playing Game, the 30th Anniversary Edition. I'm going to take a look back at this new release, a reissue of an old school RPG, Star Wars the Role-Playing Game. And then I'm going to also look back at the Star Wars revised and expanded and updated version of the role-playing game as well. So we got a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and get started. When I finished my review of Volo's Guide to Monsters, I quoted Oliver Twist in saying, "Please, sir, I want some more." And Mordenkainens Tome of Foes is just that. First and foremost, this is a DM's book. While the player will find some things useful here, most of what's presented is for the purview of the Dungeon Master and world crafting. The first 5 chapters of the book are dedicated to the blood war between devils and demons, elves, dwarves, and dwugar, the Gith and their endless war, and halflings and gnomes. For players, each chapter provides some wonderful cultural backstory and things a player can use to give their character nuance, making them richer and more thematically lifelike. The Elven chapter delves deep with the rift between Corellon and Loth and the storied and rich history of the Eladrin, the Feywild, and other aspects that players of Elves can use to enrich their roleplay. DMs can use this chapter for worldcraft and to drive the narrative of their Elven campaigns, or at the very least to help explain the motives of the Elven cultures in their world. In fact, each chapter explores the races in this manner, using the 40-year history of the game to fill in the gaps that aren't examined in detail in the player's handbook. I was particularly enamored with the chapter on halflings and their superstitions. Set flowers in your hair or hat to protect against evil fairies. Put a frog under your cap for good luck, but not for too long, or it's bad luck for a fortnight, and so on. This is some charming flavor text, and certainly provides for some fun roleplay at the table, as does all the character race suggestions in the tome. DMs looking to find a thread to string together a cultural narrative for their campaigns will find a treasure trove of such things in these chapters, and I'm certain that both experienced and new DMs, as well as players, will find inspiration from what's presented here. And that brings me to Chapter 6, the Bestiary, which comprises the bulk of the book, starting on page 115. While this is a monster manual of sorts, it takes its cues from Volo's Guide and provides ecology and background flavor text for most of its presentation. Here you will find details on such classic races such as the Githyanki and the Githazari, the Drow, and a whole host of nasties. Previously detailed in Out of the Abyss campaign adventure, demons and devils make a return, and Mordenkainen's Guide gives them the flesh and detail they deserve, with each demon lord getting massive amounts of flavor text and discusses their rank and hierarchy. Several creatures from 3rd edition make their return, and some classic creatures going all the way back to the game's beginning get the full treatment here, such as Moloch. You're probably familiar with this archdevil even if you've never heard of him before now, and as his edifice graced the cover of the 1st edition Player's Handbook, and even details why Moloch statues might be found in the ruined dungeons all over your campaign world. For any D&D enthusiast, this is just fun reading, as the classic lore of the game is revisited and expanded upon in great detail, and for this reason, I would rank Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes as indispensable for Dungeon Masters, though completely optional if you're just a player. Next, I'd like to turn my attention to this bit of Star Wars goodness. Fantasy Flight Games recently released a 30th anniversary of the West End Games Star Wars the role-playing game, though it is the first edition of the game, not the second. I had been up in the air for some time as to whether I wanted to acquire these books, as I have 2 copies of the very excellent revised and expanded second edition of the game, and given the current prices online for the first edition books, I had elected to pass. Then Fantasy Flight announced this re-release, and they had me. Not only were the releases near perfect reproductions of the original Star Wars rules, but they were packaging them in this handy slipcase that also includes the Star Wars source book. The price is around $50 to $60 for both books, with free shipping, depending on what outlet you use. A quick peek at eBay for the original copies of these 2 books, and you realize the price is right on the money, so to speak. That's a good deal. I have to say that I'm really impressed with the high quality of these reprints, and if you're a fan of the original system, you might want to pick them up. The source book is still a great read after 3 decades. A few years ago, I did a comprehensive video on this rule set, and I'm not going to revisit that here. But if you're interested in Star Wars gaming, then I highly recommend you check it out. While the original RPG is still a very playable game, it does have some problems. You will probably want to get a copy of the Star Wars Rules Upgrade. This is 4 sheets with additional rules and charts for the game that basically reworks the round sequence and the difficulty number system, adding some additional depth and fixing some issues with the system. Back when the game was released, the rules upgrade could be found for free at local game stores, as well as in all the adventure modules printed in that era. I've included a link in the description where you can download the rules upgrade if you're getting this rule set, or if you're just curious. In any event, the reprints are fun to have and read, and if you're feeling nostalgic or just want to add something neat to your collection, you can't go wrong with these reprints. That being said, I'd like to finish up by drawing your attention to the latest re-up version of the D6 system. As I said, I did a comprehensive video on the Star Wars D6 system a few years ago, and in that video I explained that the latest version of the rules was the 2nd edition update, Star Wars the role-playing game, revised and expanded. Re-up is a rules revision created by a combination of industry game designers and dedicated fans. It stands for Revised, Expanded, and Updated. The rules themselves have not been changed, but more examples have been added to help with clarity, and in a few cases the best aspects of some of the D6 system updates over the years have been integrated as well. A lot of information from other supplements have been integrated, such as the Game Master Handbook, the Star Wars Source Book, and a comprehensive list of force powers has been compiled from a variety of West End game publications. Since the last official release of the game was in 1996, a ton of new material has been added to reflect the information in the prequels. Historical data, new equipment, creatures, and NPCs have found their way into this update. If you wanted stats on battle droids, you'll find them here, and a lot more. You'll be able to run a game in any era with this comprehensive work. The re-up team has done an amazing job. Most importantly, all of this is reorganized and a new index is provided. All totaled, this massive PDF weighs in at an astounding 512 pages. If you're a fan of the original Star Wars D6, I promise you will find this new rules book in searchable PDF form indispensable. The re-up rules can be found at d6holocron.com as a free download. A link is in the description. And that brings this video to a close. While short, I hope you found it useful. Thank you for watching, and check back to this channel for more videos like this one. Please give it a like, subscribe, and share with your friends and on social media so others can enjoy it as well. And as always, my friends, may your D20 roll true and game on.